Joy Behar sat in her dressing room at the ABC studios in New York City, staring at the printed email in her hands. Her heart was beating fast with excitement. This was it. This was the story that would finally expose Kash Patel for what she believed he really was. The email had arrived that morning through her producer, Lisa Martinez. Lisa had gotten it from someone who claimed to work inside the government. The person would not give their real name, but they said they had inside information about the new FBI director. The email looked official. It had government addresses and the right kind of language that government workers used. Joy read the email again for the 10th time that morning. It talked about Patel making plans to go after Democrats once he took control of the FBI. It mentioned names of people he wanted to investigate. It spoke about using the FBI as a weapon against President Trump's enemies. Joy felt a rush of anger as she read each word. She had been fighting against Patel's nomination for months. Ever since Trump announced he wanted Patel to run the FBI, Joy had been telling her viewers that this was dangerous. She believed Patel would turn the FBI into Trump's personal police force. And now, she thought, she had proof. Lisa Martinez knocked on Joy's dressing room door and walked in. Lisa was a young woman who had been working at The View for 3 years. She was smart and usually very careful about checking facts before putting stories on the air. "Joy, I've been thinking about this email," Lisa said, looking worried. "Maybe we should have our fact-checkers look at it before we use it on the show today." Joy looked up from the paper and shook her head. "Lisa, this is too big to wait. If we delay, someone else might get this story first. Besides, look at this email. It has all the right details. The addresses look real. The names are people we know work in government." Lisa sat down in the chair across from Joy. "But Joy, we don't know who sent this to us. The person won't tell us their real name. That makes me nervous. What if this is fake?" Joy stood up and walked to the mirror. She began fixing her hair for the show. "Lisa, sometimes in journalism you have to take risks. This email shows exactly what I've been saying about Patel all along. He wants to use the FBI to hurt Democrats. Our viewers need to know this." "But what if Patel denies it?" Lisa asked. "What if he says the email is not real?" Joy turned around and smiled. "Then he'll have to explain why an email like this exists. Even if he denies it, people will wonder if it might be true. And Lisa, I'm going to read this email live on the air. He won't have time to prepare lies." Lisa felt uncomfortable, but she knew Joy was the star of the show. Joy had been on television for many years. She had interviewed presidents and famous people. Lisa trusted that Joy knew what she was doing. The makeup artist came in to get Joy ready for the show. While the woman worked on Joy's face, Joy kept thinking about how she would surprise Patel with the email. She planned to start with normal questions. Then, when he was comfortable, she would pull out the email and read it to him and to all the viewers watching at home. Joy thought about all the times Patel had appeared on conservative news shows. He always seemed so confident and prepared. He always had answers for everything. But this time would be different. This time Joy would have him trapped. He would not be able to talk his way out of this email. The other hosts of The View were getting ready in their own dressing rooms. Sarah Collins was one of Joy's co-hosts. Sarah was younger than Joy and usually tried to be fair to both Democrats and Republicans. When Sarah heard about the email, she felt worried. Sarah went to find Amanda Brooks, another co-host. Amanda had worked in journalism before joining The View. She understood how important it was to check facts before putting stories on television. "Amanda, have you seen this email that Joy wants to use today?" Sarah asked. Amanda nodded. "Yes, Lisa showed it to me. I'm not comfortable with it. We don't know where it came from. We haven't checked if it's real." "Should we talk to Joy about waiting?" Sarah asked. Amanda sighed. "I tried earlier. Joy is convinced this is a big story. She thinks this will prove she was right about Patel all along." Sarah looked worried. "But what if we're wrong? What if the email is fake and we read it on live television? That could be really bad for the show." "I know," Amanda said. "But you know how Joy gets when she thinks she has a big story. She doesn't like to listen to advice." Meanwhile, Joy was in the makeup chair, practicing how she would read the email. She wanted to sound serious and angry. She wanted viewers to understand how important this was. She imagined Patel's face when she started reading. She thought he would look scared and guilty. The makeup artist finished her work. Joy looked at herself in the mirror. She looked professional and ready for battle. This was what she lived for. This was why she became a journalist, to hold powerful people accountable, to ask the hard questions that other people were afraid to ask. Joy picked up the email and read it one more time. Every word made her more angry. How dare Patel think he could use the FBI this way? How dare he think he could get away with it? Well, not on Joy's watch. She would make sure the American people knew what kind of man Trump had chosen to run the FBI. A production assistant came to tell Joy it was almost time for the show to start. Joy folded the email carefully and put it in her jacket pocket. She wanted to be able to pull it out at just the right moment for maximum effect. As she walked toward the studio, Joy felt confident and excited. She had no idea that in just a few hours, this email would make her the most embarrassed person on television. She had no idea that instead of destroying Kash Patel's reputation, she was about to destroy her own credibility in front of millions of viewers. The studio lights were bright and hot. The audience was taking their seats. In just a few minutes, the view would be live on television across America. Joy sat down at the table with her co-hosts. She could feel the email in her pocket. Her secret weapon. Her proof that she had been right about Kash Patel all along. She had no way of knowing that she was about to make the biggest mistake of her career. The red light on the camera turned on, and the view was live on television across America. Joy Behar smiled at the camera as the theme music played. Thousands of people were watching from their homes, having no idea they were about to see one of the most embarrassing moments in television history. "Good morning, everyone," Joy said in her cheerful television voice. "We have a very special guest joining us today. FBI Director Kash Patel will be calling in to talk about his new role and his plans for the agency." Sarah Collins and Amanda Brooks sat next to Joy at the curved table. Both women still felt uncomfortable about the email in Joy's pocket, but they had decided to trust Joy's experience. After all, Joy had been doing television interviews for many years. The producer counted down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. The phone call connected, and Kash Patel's face appeared on the large screen. Behind the hosts, he was sitting in his office at FBI headquarters in Washington. He looked calm and professional in his dark blue suit and red tie. "Director Patel, thank you for joining us this morning," Joy said, trying to sound friendly. But people who knew Joy well could hear the tension in her voice. She was like a cat waiting to pounce on a mouse. "Thank you for having me, Joy," Patel replied. His voice was steady and confident. "I'm happy to talk about the important work we're doing at the FBI." Joy started with easy questions. She asked about his first week on the job. She asked about his plans for fighting crime. She asked about terrorism threats. Patel answered each question smoothly. He seemed comfortable and relaxed. But Joy was just warming up. With each question, her voice became a little sharper. Her questions became more challenging. She asked about his loyalty to President Trump. She asked if he would investigate Democrats. She asked if the FBI would be fair under his leadership. Patel handled every question with patience. He explained that the FBI worked for all Americans, not for any political party. He said his job was to follow the law and protect the country. He never seemed angry or defensive. Sarah and Amanda asked a few questions of their own. They tried to keep the interview balanced and fair, but they could see Joy getting more frustrated. Nothing Patel said was giving Joy the reaction she wanted. The interview had been going for about 15 minutes. Joy knew she had to make her move soon. The show only had a limited amount of time, and she wanted to save enough time to read the entire email on the air. "Director Patel," Joy said, her voice suddenly becoming very serious. "I want to ask you about something very important, something that I think our viewers need to know about." Patel nodded. "Of course. What would you like to know?" Joy reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out the folded email. She held it up so the cameras could see it clearly. The paper looked official and important. The studio audience became very quiet. I have here an internal email, Joy announced dramatically. An email that shows your real plans for the FBI. An email that proves what many of us have been worried about. Patel's eyebrows went up slightly. He leaned forward in his chair. I'd be very interested to see what you're referring to, he said, calmly. Joy unfolded the email with theatrical flair. She wanted everyone watching to understand this was a big moment. This was the moment she would expose the truth about Kash Patel. This email, Joy said, her voice rising with excitement, shows you discussing plans to weaponize the FBI against Democrats. It shows you talking about targeting your political enemies. What do you have to say about this? Instead of asking to see the email first or demanding to know where it came from, Joy made a crucial mistake. She was so excited about her big moment that she decided to read the email out loud immediately. She wanted to catch Patel off guard. She wanted to see him squirm. Let me read this to our viewers, Joy announced. And to you, Director Patel. Sarah Collins grabbed Joy's arm gently. Joy, maybe we should let Director Patel see the email first, she whispered. But Joy shook her head. She was convinced this was her moment of triumph. She began reading in a loud, dramatic voice. From Kash Patel to Deputy Director Johnson, Joy read. We need to start preparing target lists of Democratic politicians who have been opposing the administration. The President wants us to begin surveillance operations immediately. As Joy read these words, she watched Patel's face on the screen. But instead of looking guilty or scared, Patel looked confused. Then slowly, a small smile appeared on his face. Joy continued reading, her voice getting louder and more dramatic with each sentence. We should focus first on senators who voted against my confirmation. Also begin monitoring their communications and financial records. The President believes these people are enemies of the state. The studio audience was completely silent. Amanda Brooks was frantically typing on her tablet, trying to fact-check the email in real time. Sarah Collins looked pale and worried, but Joy was in her element now. She felt like she was exposing the biggest scandal in American politics. She continued reading the email with great passion. We must also investigate journalists who have been critical of the administration, Joy read dramatically. Especially those at ABC, CNN, and MSNBC. The President wants to know if we can find criminal charges to bring against them. As Joy read these words, she noticed that Patel was no longer looking confused. He was starting to chuckle softly. This was not the reaction Joy had expected. She had expected him to look guilty, to try to defend himself, to make excuses. Director Patel, Joy said, pausing in her reading. Why are you smiling? Don't you think this is serious? Patel nodded, but his smile grew bigger. Oh, I think this is very serious indeed, he said. Please continue reading. I'm very interested to hear the rest of this. Joy felt a small flutter of doubt in her stomach, but she was too far committed now. She had read most of the email on live television. She had to finish. There was no going back. She read the final paragraph of the email, which talked about using the FBI to spy on Democratic fundraising events and to investigate anyone who donated money to Democratic candidates. When Joy finished reading, she looked up at the screen triumphantly. She expected to see Patel looking defeated and caught. Instead, he was still smiling, and now he was shaking his head slowly. Ms. Bahar, Patel said calmly, I think you should know something very important about what you just read to your viewers. Joy felt her confidence starting to crack. This was not how this was supposed to go. Joy Bahar felt her stomach drop as she looked at Kash Patel's calm face on the screen. Something was wrong. This was not how Patel was supposed to react. He should have been angry or defensive. He should have been trying to make excuses. Instead, he was sitting back in his chair looking almost amused. What do you mean? Joy asked, trying to keep her voice steady. What should I know about this email? Patel leaned forward and looked directly into the camera. Ms. Behar, I appreciate you bringing this document to my attention, but I think you and your viewers should understand that what you just read appears to be completely fake. The words hit Joy like a slap in the face. Fake? She repeated. What are you talking about? This email has official government addresses. It has the right format. It mentions real people. Patel nodded patiently. Let me explain what I noticed while you were reading. First, the email address you mentioned for Deputy Director Johnson is wrong. The actual Deputy Director is named Sandra Martinez, not Johnson. Second, the format you're using doesn't match how FBI internal emails actually look. Sarah Collins was frantically searching on her tablet. Her face went white as she found information that confirmed what Patel was saying. She grabbed Joy's arm and whispered urgently, "Joy, he's right. I just looked up the Deputy Director. It's not Johnson." But Joy was too shocked to hear her co-host. She stared at the email in her hands as if it might change into something different. "But the person who sent this said they work in government," she said weakly. "And who exactly sent this to you?" Patel asked gently. "Can you tell us their name and position?" Joy felt trapped. "I can't reveal my sources," she said, using the standard journalist response. But even as she said it, she knew how weak it sounded. Patel continued his calm explanation. "There are several other problems with this document. The date format is wrong for FBI communications. Some of the government codes mentioned don't exist. And most importantly, 3 of the people mentioned in this email left government service months before the date on this document." Amanda Brooks was also checking facts on her phone. She looked up at Joy with horror in her eyes. "Joy," she whispered, "the email mentions Special Agent Williams in the Counterterrorism Division. But according to the FBI website, Agent Williams retired last year." The studio audience was completely silent. They could sense that something terrible was happening, but they weren't sure what. Joy Behar, who was usually so confident and loud, looked smaller and smaller in her chair. Patel continued speaking in his calm, professional voice. "I want to be clear about something else. The FBI has strict policies about communications. We don't send emails talking about targeting people based on their political beliefs. That would be illegal and against everything the FBI stands for." Joy tried to recover. "But even if some details are wrong, the main idea could still be true," she said desperately. "Maybe whoever wrote this just got some facts mixed up." "Ms. Behar," Patel said, and now his voice became more serious. "This isn't about getting facts mixed up. This appears to be a deliberate attempt to create fake evidence. Someone wanted you to believe this email was real. Someone wanted you to read it on television." Producer Lisa Martinez was standing behind the cameras, looking like she wanted to disappear into the floor. She was making urgent hand signals to try to get Joy to cut to a commercial break, but Joy was too focused on the disaster unfolding in front of her. Sarah Collins tried to help. "Director Patel, if this email is fake, who do you think created it?" Patel shrugged. "That's something we would need to investigate. But I can tell you that creating fake government documents is a serious crime. Spreading disinformation to influence public opinion is also something we take very seriously." Joy felt panic rising in her chest. Not only had she been fooled by a fake email, but now she had read it on live television to millions of people. Worse, Patel was suggesting that someone had deliberately tricked her. "How was I supposed to know it was fake?" Joy asked, her voice rising. "It looked real to me." Patel remained patient. "Ms. Behar, as a journalist, don't you usually verify documents before reporting on them? Don't you check with multiple sources to make sure information is accurate?" This question hit Joy hard because she knew the answer. Yes, journalists were supposed to verify information. Yes, she should have checked the email more carefully. But she had been so excited about having a big story that she had skipped the basic steps of good journalism. Amanda Brooks jumped in to try to save the situation. "Director Patel, what would you recommend people do when they receive documents like this?" "The first thing is to slow down," Patel replied. "Don't rush to publish or broadcast information just because it seems important. Check the details carefully. Contact the people mentioned in the document to verify if it's real. And be very suspicious of anonymous sources, especially when they're making serious accusations." Joy sat in stunned silence as she realized how badly she had messed up. Not only had she failed to follow basic journalism rules, but she had done it on live television. Millions of people had watched her read a fake email as if it were real news. Sarah Collins made one more attempt to help her friend. "Joy, maybe we should take a commercial break and discuss this more when we come back." But Joy knew there was no coming back from this mistake. She looked down at the email in her hands, the paper that had seemed so important just a few minutes ago. Now it felt like it was burning her fingers. "Director Patel," Joy said quietly, "if this email is fake, then I owe you an apology." Patel nodded graciously. "I appreciate that, Ms. Bahar. But more importantly, this should be a lesson for everyone about how easy it is to create and spread false information. The real story here isn't about me or the FBI. It's about how disinformation campaigns work and how they target people who want to believe certain things." Joy felt sick to her stomach. She realized that she had wanted to believe the email was real because it confirmed what she already thought about Patel. Her bias had made her an easy target for whoever had created the fake document. The producer was frantically signaling for a commercial break. Joy looked at her co-hosts, who were staring at her with mixtures of sympathy and horror. She looked at the studio audience, who seemed confused and uncomfortable. Finally, she looked back at the screen where Patel was waiting patiently for whatever would happen next. "We need to take a break," Joy said weakly. "We'll be right back." The cameras stopped rolling and the studio went to commercial. Joy put her head in her hands. She knew that when they came back on the air, she would have to face the consequences of her mistake. And she knew that this would be a day she would never forget. The commercial break felt like the longest 3 minutes of Joy Bahar's life. She sat at the table with her head in her hands while chaos erupted around her in the studio. Producer Lisa Martinez was on her phone with ABC executives, her voice getting higher and more panicked with each word she spoke. "Yes, sir. She read the entire email on live television," Lisa was saying. "No, we didn't verify it first." "Yes, sir. I understand this is a major problem." Sarah Collins put her hand on Joy's shoulder. "Joy, we need to figure out what to say when we come back on air. We can't just pretend this didn't happen." Amanda Brooks was still frantically checking facts on her phone. "This is really bad," she whispered. "I'm finding news articles that show this email has all the wrong information. The people mentioned, the dates, the email addresses, everything is fake." Joy finally looked up. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking slightly. "How did this happen?" she asked. "The email looked so real. The person who sent it seemed to know what they were talking about." The makeup artist rushed over to touch up Joy's face powder, but Joy waved her away. "I don't care how I look right now," Joy said. "My career might be over anyway." Across the studio, the technical crew was dealing with their own crisis. Phone calls were flooding in from viewers, reporters, and ABC executives. Social media was exploding with clips of Joy reading the fake email. The hashtag #FakeEmailGate was already trending on Twitter. Lisa Martinez finished her phone call and ran over to the host's table. "Joy, the network executives want to know how you're going to handle this when we come back. They're considering ending the show early." "No," Joy said firmly. "We're going to face this head on. I made a mistake, and I need to own up to it. On." The video screen, Kash Patel was still waiting patiently. During the commercial break, he had been talking to his own staff at FBI headquarters. They were already beginning an investigation into who had created the fake email and how it had been distributed. The producer counted down the final seconds of the commercial break. "We're back in 5, 4, 3, 2. The red light came on again, and the view was back on live television. But the atmosphere in the studio was completely different now. The energy that had been building during Joy's dramatic email reading was gone, replaced by tension and embarrassment. "Welcome back to The View," Joy said, her voice much quieter than before. "Before the break, I read what I believed was an internal FBI email. Director Patel has informed us that this email appears to be fake." Sarah Collins jumped in to help. "Director Patel, can you explain to our viewers how someone might create a document like this?" Patel nodded. "Unfortunately, creating fake government documents has become easier with modern technology. Someone with basic computer skills can make something that looks official. They can copy real email formats, use government language, and include names of real people. But why would someone do this? Amanda Brooks asked. There are several reasons, Patel explained. Sometimes foreign governments create fake documents to cause confusion and distrust in America. Sometimes political groups do it to hurt their opponents. And sometimes people do it just to cause chaos and get attention. Joy knew she had to take responsibility. Director Patel, I owe you and our viewers a sincere apology. I should have verified this email before reading it on air. That's basic journalism, and I failed to do it. I appreciate your apology, Patel said graciously. But I think this is a good teaching moment for everyone. We all need to be more careful about what information we trust and share. While this conversation was happening on television, the consequences were already spreading beyond the studio. Conservative news websites were posting articles with headlines like, Joy Behar falls for fake email hoax, and The View host humiliated by obvious fake news. Liberal commentators were also critical, but for different reasons. They worried that Joy's mistake would make it harder for legitimate journalists to hold government officials accountable. If hosts like Joy could be fooled so easily, people might stop trusting all media reports about government. Jake Morrison, a popular conservative radio host, was already on the air talking about the incident. This is exactly what's wrong with mainstream media, he told his listeners. They want to attack conservative officials so badly that they'll believe anything, even obvious fake emails. At ABC headquarters in New York, executives were in emergency meetings. The legal department was trying to figure out if the network could be sued for broadcasting false information. The public relations team was crafting statements to limit the damage to ABC's reputation. Robert Chen, ABC's president, was getting calls from other networks, advertisers, and politicians. Everyone wanted to know how The View had allowed such a serious mistake to happen on live television. We're conducting a full investigation, Chen told callers. We take accuracy in journalism very seriously, and we will implement new procedures to prevent this from happening again. Back on The View, Joy was trying to explain how she had been fooled. The person who sent us this email claimed to have inside knowledge of the FBI. They used language that sounded professional and official. I wanted to believe it was true because it confirmed my concerns about Director Patel's appointment. This admission made things worse for Joy. She was essentially saying that her political bias had clouded her judgment. Good journalists are supposed to be skeptical of information that confirms what they want to believe. Patel used this moment to make a broader point. Ms. Behar, you're not the only person who has fallen for disinformation like this. These fake documents are designed to target people's existing beliefs. If you already distrust someone, you're more likely to believe negative information about them even if it's fake. Amanda Brooks asked, what should media organizations do to prevent this kind of mistake? First, always verify information with multiple sources, Patel replied. Second, be especially careful with anonymous sources who make serious accusations. Third, when in doubt, don't publish or broadcast until you're sure the information is accurate. Sarah Collins looked uncomfortable as she asked the next question. Director Patel, will the FBI be investigating who created this fake email? Yes, Patel said firmly. Creating fake government documents is a federal crime. Attempting to influence public opinion through disinformation is something we take very seriously. We will find out who did this. Joy felt a new wave of panic. Not only had she embarrassed herself on television, but now there would be an FBI investigation. The person who had sent her the fake email might be arrested, and Joy would be a witness in a federal case. The show was running out of time. Lisa. Martinez was signaling that they needed to wrap up the interview soon. Joy knew this might be her last chance to try to save some dignity. Director Patel, I hope you understand that I wasn't trying to hurt you personally, Joy said. I genuinely believed this email was real and I thought the public had a right to know about it. I understand, Patel replied. But this incident shows why trust in media is so important. When journalists make mistakes like this, it makes it harder for people to know what information they can believe. As the interview ended, and The View went to its final commercial break, Joy knew her life was about to change dramatically. The mistake she had made in those few minutes of reading a fake email would follow her for the rest of her career. 3 days after the disaster on The View, Joy Behar sat in her apartment staring at her phone. The calls had not stopped coming. Reporters wanted interviews. Her agent was fielding offers from talk shows that wanted her to explain what had happened. Social media was still buzzing with clips of her reading the fake email. Joy had not slept well since the incident. Every time she closed her eyes, she could see Kash Patel's calm face as he explained why the email was fake. She could hear her own voice dramatically reading words that were completely made up. The embarrassment felt like a physical weight on her chest. Her doorbell rang. Joy looked through the peephole and saw Lisa Martinez, her producer from The View. Joy opened the door and let Lisa in. "How are you holding up?" Lisa asked, sitting down on Joy's couch. "I've been better," Joy replied. "What's the latest from the network?" Lisa took a deep breath. "Well, the good news is that ABC isn't firing you. The bad news is that there are going to be big changes. You have to do a formal on-air apology today. And from now on, any documents or emails we want to use on the show have to be verified by the news department first." Joy nodded. She had expected something like this. "What kind of apology do they want?" "A real one," Lisa said. "No excuses, no blaming other people. You have to take full responsibility for not checking the email before reading it on air." Meanwhile, at FBI headquarters in Washington, Kash Patel was meeting with his investigation team. They had been working around the clock to find out who had created the fake email that fooled Joy Behar. "Sir, we traced the email back to a computer in Eastern Europe," Agent Karen Thompson reported. "It looks like this was part of a larger disinformation campaign targeting American media." Patel wasn't surprised. Foreign governments have been trying to create chaos in American politics for years. They probably figured that if they could get a major TV host to read fake information on the air, it would make Americans trust their media even less. Agent Thompson continued her report. "We also found that this same group sent similar fake emails to other news organizations. Most of them checked the information and realized it was fake. The View was the only one that actually broadcast it." Patel shook his head. "That tells us something important about the state of journalism in America. Most news organizations still follow proper procedures, but some are so eager to break big stories that they skip basic fact-checking. Back at ABC, executives were dealing with the ongoing fallout. Advertisers were asking questions about the network's standards. Competing news organizations were using Joy's mistake to attack ABC's credibility. The View's ratings had actually gone up because people wanted to see what would happen next. But that wasn't necessarily good news." Robert Chen, ABC's president, was in his office preparing talking points for an interview with a media reporter. He needed to explain how The View would prevent similar mistakes in the future, without admitting that the show had serious problems with fact-checking. "We're implementing new verification procedures," Chen practiced saying. "This incident, while regrettable, has led to important improvements in our journalistic standards." At the same time, Joy was getting ready to return to The View for her public apology. The makeup artist was working extra hard to hide the bags under Joy's eyes from 3 sleepless nights. Joy's hands were still shaking slightly as she reviewed the statement she had written. "Are you ready for this?" Sarah Collins asked, coming into Joy's dressing room. "As ready as I can be," Joy replied. "I just have to get through it and hope people can forgive me." Amanda Brooks joined them. "Joy, I want you to know that we support you. Everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is how you handle it," Joy appreciated her co-host's support, but she knew this apology would be one of the hardest things she had ever done on television. Admitting you were wrong in front of millions of people was never easy, especially when the mistake was so public and embarrassing. The 3 women walked to the studio together. The audience was larger than usual because the story had attracted so much attention. Some people were there to support Joy, but others seemed to be waiting to see her humiliate herself further. As the show began, Joy looked directly into the camera. Her usual confident demeanor was gone, replaced by obvious nervousness and regret. I want to start today's show with a sincere apology, Joy began. 3 days ago, I read an email on this program that I believed contained important information about FBI Director Kash Patel. I have since learned that this email was completely fake. Joy paused and took a breath. She could feel her heart beating fast, but she forced herself to continue. I failed to follow basic journalistic standards by not verifying this document before reading it on air. I let my personal feelings about Director Patel cloud my judgment about whether the information was reliable. That was wrong, and I take full responsibility for this serious mistake. The studio audience was completely silent. Joy continued with her prepared statement. I want to apologize to Director Patel, who was unfairly accused based on false information. I want to apologize to our viewers, who trust us to give them accurate news. And I want to apologize to my colleagues at ABC, who work hard every day to maintain high standards of journalism. Joy looked down at her notes, then back up at the camera. This incident has taught me an important lesson about the dangers of disinformation. Someone created that fake email specifically to fool people like me. They succeeded because I wanted to believe information that confirmed what I already thought. Sarah Collins spoke up. Joy, what changes will you make going forward? From now on, any document or email that we discuss on this show will be verified by ABC's news department first, Joy replied. We will not broadcast information from anonymous sources unless we can confirm it through multiple independent sources. And I personally will be more careful about letting my political opinions influence my judgment about facts. As Joy's apology aired, social media began reacting immediately. Some people praised her for taking responsibility. Others said the apology wasn't enough and that she should be fired. Conservative commentators said this proved that liberal media couldn't be trusted. Liberal commentators worried that Joy's mistake would make it harder for all journalists to hold politicians accountable. Kash Patel was watching the apology from his office. When it ended, he released a statement through the FBI's press office. Appreciate Ms. Bihar's apology and her acknowledgement that she made a serious error. This incident highlights the importance of verifying information before sharing it publicly. I hope this serves as a reminder to all media professionals about their responsibility to report accurately. In the weeks that followed, The View implemented the new fact-checking procedures that Joy had promised. The show's staff had to attend training sessions about verifying sources and identifying disinformation. Joy herself took a course in digital media literacy to better understand how fake documents are created. The FBI's investigation continued, eventually leading to charges against a foreign disinformation network. The fake email that had fooled Joy was part of a much larger operation designed to undermine trust in American institutions. Joy kept her job, but her reputation was permanently damaged. She became more careful about the claims she made on air, always remembering the day when her eagerness to attack a political opponent led her to broadcast fake news to millions of Americans. The incident became a case study in journalism schools across the country, showing students what could happen when political bias overcame professional standards. For Joy Behar, it was a humbling reminder that in the age of disinformation, even experienced journalists could become victims of their own assumptions.